Hello, everyone. Welcome to Volume 4 of the Degenerate Gambling Life. This week, we're going to be discussing some of the signings that's taken place in fantasy football, how they've shaken up the rankings, and the teams that it's impacted. We'll discuss a little bit of fantasy baseball, followed by poker as always. But first, shout out Liverpool getting the win. I also want to give a shout out to Kevin's buddy, Jordan, who's been watching all of our videos. Jordan, people just hate greatness. What can I say? Liverpool is greatness. But as I'm recording this, we have breaking news. Jonathan Taylor has been given permission to seek a trade. This is something that can really shake up the rankings. If he lands with the right team, he could vault all the way back up into the top 5, leaving people like myself that's been passing on him because I don't like the situation with the Colts just in tears because we passed up on a really great player. But that's what happens sometimes.
You like that? Huh? You like that? Wah! You just tune this out, don't you? Wah! Well, tune this out. Wah! Ah! Ah! Get up!
What's up, guys? My name is Jacob Listowski with the Degenerate Gambling Life, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about player movements and their impact on fantasy football. With Zeke Elliot officially moving to the New England Patriots, I believe Tony Pollard might be the most underrated player right now in redraft formats. This is maybe the most explosive back in the league. The guy's averaged 5.1 yards per carry for his career, and last season he rushed for over 1,000 yards on just 193 carries. You know, he's also demonstrated an ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, catching 39 passes each of the last 2 seasons. And last season, he scored 12 total touchdowns in a year where Zeke Elliott also vultured 12 touchdowns. So those numbers could even go up this season. Look for this guy to have a breakout season, maybe 1,500 plus yards, 15 touchdowns, and over 50 or 60 catches. I think this guy could be a league winner in PPR formats. He's as dynamic as any player in the league, and the bottom line is he has running back number 1 overall upside this season.
Colonel, you better take a look at this radar.
With Dalvin Cook choosing to sign with the New York Jets over the Miami Dolphins, it has changed the backfield outlook a little bit for the Dolphins, but not so much where I'm jumping for joy to draft any of these guys in redraft leagues. In Dynasty, I do prefer Devon Achane. The guy was a human highlight reel at Texas A&M, and he's sure to produce some big plays for the Dolphins offense this season. I like him in the 7th or 8th round in Dynasty formats, but I do prefer guys that are going in the same vicinity like Khalil Herbert, so mostly I'm staying away from the Dolphins' backfield this season. In redraft, I think Jeff Wilson Jr. presents the best value this season. He's only 27 years old and averaged over 5 yards per carry last season. The Dolphins have committed a lot of money to him, and he has familiarity in Mike McDaniel's offense. On the same token, I do like Raheem Mostert as a player, but he's 31 years old now and has a history with injuries, so if he does take an injury, Jeff Wilson Jr.'s share of the workload will certainly step up. I like Jeff Wilson Jr.'s ability in the passing game as well, so in PPR formats, he could add a little bit of a boost there. Overall, though, the Miami Dolphins are going to be a pass-heavy offense with a 3-headed monster at running back, so I'm avoiding this backfield as much as I can in most formats. I think you're going to be better served looking elsewhere in fantasy. But if you do want to get a piece of this backfield, I say Jeff Wilson Jr. in redraft and Devon Achane in keeper and dynasty formats.
What's up, everyone? My name is Kevin Miller. On today's episode, we'll be discussing some of the recent signings. I'm going to talk about Ezekiel Elliott signing with the Patriots. I think Ramondre Stevenson takes a small hit in value. He was going in the early to middle 3rd in most formats, and I think Zeke really just takes away about 5 to 10 touches a game in the rushing attack and almost no receiving work. The most concerning thing would be touchdowns, but Stevenson didn't have a lot of touchdowns last year, so I still would be taking Stevenson in the 3rd round. I might slot him behind Najee Harris now, or insert your running back of choice that is you're taking in round 3 or 4. There's a couple other guys in that range as well. As far as Zeke goes, now that he's officially signed with the team, I could see him getting 500 or 600 rushing yards and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, who knows how many touchdowns on the Patriots. They've had double-digit rusher in touchdowns every year except last, when they had a really good running back. Another signing that happened was Dalvin Cook to the Jets. I think this kind of caps Breece Hall's ceiling. More importantly, I think it kind of indicates where Breece Hall is at. If he was a full go and looking great, I don't think they'd feel the need to go out and get a running back, even if they have the cap space and it makes them a better team or gives them a better shot to, do well and go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they make that move unless Breece Hall isn't ready to go. They do have some other running backs on the team. Donovan Knight, Michael Carter, the rookie Izzy from Pitt. I think all these guys are pretty much undraftable except in Dynasty or the final round of your draft, maybe as a lottery ticket. The only one I really like out of the three is Izzy. But I'd still be drafting Breece Hall in around round 5 if you can get him as your second or third running back, and then come back and grab another running back after him to start until he's ready. I think he could be a second half league winner, so he's still worth trying to get. I wouldn't reach for him, but if you can get him at or near cost as your second running back and back him up quickly so you don't have to start him right away, I think Breece Hall could still be a really good pick this year in fantasy. Now Dalvin Cook, he was already going in around 7 or 8 before this. I think he stays right in that range. I don't think he goes ahead of Breece Hall, but I don't think he goes more than 1 or 2 rounds behind Breece Hall. So round 6, round 7 for Dalvin Cook seems about the right price. These are the 2 big signings over the last week. We'll see if Taylor lands with a new team or if Jacobs holds out. We still have another couple games of preseason to go. As you can see behind me on the wall, it is redraft season, or actually this is a dynasty draft on the wall behind me, but we're officially in redraft season and not in best ball mode anymore. So thank you guys for listening. Until next time.
All right, let's hop into a little bit of fantasy baseball. Hopefully your team is in the playoff hunt or already locked up a spot with only a few weeks to go. So these are 2 players that can help push you over that are still available in over 40% of leagues. First, we're going to discuss a pitcher, Ryan Yarbrough of the Dodgers. They're using him as a swingman so you can get saves, you can get wins, plus he'll help you with strikeout, your whip, and ERA. So really good value. Over the past month, he's actually been player 16 overall. So go ahead and snap him up if you can. Next, the second baseman, Zach Gerloff, probably butchered that, of the Oakland Athletics. He can help you in every single category: steals, RBIs, home runs, and he's been the player number 22 overall for the past month. So these 2 players that can help push you over that finish line to get into the fantasy baseball playoffs.
What's up? On today's poker blog, we will be talking about Ace King and our different opinions of Ace King and how we like to play Ace King. Everyone's favorite, most controversial hand. So I'm just going to jump right into the big slick. In a cash game where you're 100 blinds or less deep, I'm usually going to be raising whoever pre-flop up to my stack of 100 bigs to get it in. Obviously, this is extremely situational. You know your game. You know the game you're playing in better than someone that's not in that game. If you're playing against a bunch of old tight players, then Ace King really isn't that good to get in for 100 big blinds, but I'm still not going to shy away. The main point of why Ace King is such a strong hand, especially in cash game, is unless you're up against aces, you're not in bad shape. Against pocket queens, you have 45 to 55% equity, depending on if you're suited or not. Against pocket kings, you have 25% equity. I know that's not a lot of equity, but we're talking about the second best hand in poker. So Ace King just has a ton of equity, and a lot of times you get in as a 75% favorite against Ace Queen, Ace Jack, King Queen, King Jack when you against these novice players. So I just think that there's a ton of value in Ace King, and unless you can smell the aces in the air, you should be looking to keep putting money in pre-flop with Ace King up to 100 big blinds deep. When you're 200 big blinds or deeper, I think that's when I start introducing a partial limping strategy where I will limp, or just not limp to re-raise or 3-bet, but just slow play straight up ace king and act weak about 25% of the time. The only real way to kind of balance out your range and do this a quarter of the time is to either look at your watch or your phone and just go by the 15-minute increments or the 15 set, the second marker. You have to come up with a system that you can look at and use, and only, no one else will know what looking at your watch means. They're not going to know if it's the 25% or something about, that's a real thing that people do. Now, if we're talking about tournament, ace king's a different story. I will be willing to get up to 50 big blinds in most of the time with ace king. If my stack's under 50 bigs, I'll be looking to keep aggressing until the money gets in pre-flop. If we're over 50 big blinds, I think that your stack has a lot of playability and you don't have to marry any hand. Aces, kings, queens maybe, but even ace, king, queens you can get away from when you're over 50 bigs. Or obviously, you have to trust your read and your gut. Any hand besides aces is foldable. I've folded pocket kings multiple times in cash game. Can't say I've ever folded them pre-flop in a tournament setting, but I have folded them multiple times in cash game, and I have folded them in tournaments, just not pre-flop all in. So that's my summary of ace king. I think you should be looking to play aggressively with it, because the most profitable style of poker is tight aggressive or loose aggressive, depending on the table at that given time. But the key word in that is aggressive. And if you're not being aggressive with ace king, you're not playing poker correctly. I'm just gonna say it. So thank you guys for listening. There's my hot take on ace king.
Finally, we're going to discuss my view on ace king. Kevin makes some great points. Those are very high level thoughts for playing ace king and poker in general. Problem is we're playing 1-3 and below for most of the people we're trying to talk to, and at those stakes, ace king to me is very similar to jack 10. It's a drawing hand. You have to improve on it. When you do it against pocket deuces, heads up over the long run, pocket deuces makes more money. So I like to 3-bet with it, but not 4-bet with it, because it's one of those where you're very face up, but also 3-bets are just so strong and 1-3 and below. I think that whenever you go to a flop, you can evaluate, c-bet, but it's just one of those hands that you want to really try to go in with knowing that you need to improve. I recommend open betting, 3-betting, or occasionally about 10% just limping. All those kind of disguise the strength of your hand a little bit so you can get max payoff, and that's kind of the way that I view you should play ace king at the 1-3 and below level. Now, for next week, we're going to be discussing our favorite cheap stacks. So come check that out. We'll also have a little bit of poker, and we'll also discuss Kevin's crazy blackjack strategy. As always, thank you for watching us. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and look forward to you guys with Volume 5.